What's going on, YouTube? This is Jim Afanis, and today I want to talk to you guys about the Xbox One Elite controller. Now, unfortunately, I do not have my hands on one just yet, but I was able to actually hold one. And I know that doesn't really sound like much of an accomplishment, but considering that this thing is sold out everywhere, it's actually really cool that I actually got to at least see it. And not behind a sheet of glass, but actually got to hold it in my hands. And that was by way of the Microsoft Store at the Millennium Mall. So it wasn't connected to any game console. It was just sitting on a table under Microsoft employee guard, so to speak. There was like 8 of those dudes standing around as I was kind of holding it. And they were like, "Do you like it? Do you have any questions about it? We don't have it in the store. But do you have any questions about it?" But, they're like really making sure I put everything back. And I did. Obviously, I didn't steal it. But I did get a chance to hold it, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So if you're familiar with the Xbox One controller, it is the exact same form factor. It's not any bigger or any smaller. Let's talk about the face first. The interchangeable thumbsticks. So it comes with a bunch of different thumbsticks. It comes with both concave, like the consoles have now, like the current generation, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One have concave thumb grips. It also has convex, like the PlayStation 3 controller thumb grips as well. The concave versions come in really little tiny sticks and really long sticks. The convex just come in the standard size that they're already in now. So you're not going to get any kind of like tall or short or anything like that. They're super easy to take off and put back on. They are held in via a magnet. That's all it is. And I did wiggle on it, and I noticed no wiggle at all. That was one of my initial concerns that I had, that, when you're playing and you're manipulating the thumbsticks pretty heavily, one of them may pop out. I wasn't able to get one of them to pop off, short of grabbing it and pulling it straight out as it's meant to do. I actually put my thumb on the long thumbstick. I put my thumb under the thumbstick where the thumbstick meets the controller, and I was trying to pry it up that way, and I didn't have enough power to do it. So they did a really good job of that setup. It's easy to snap them on and off without any issue. I don't see that being a problem, so that was my first concern. Also on the face, they include a little dip switch for configuration A and configuration B. So if you wanted to, since the controller is completely internally manipulated in terms of like what your control mapping is, you could have 2 different setups. The guys at the store recommended a PC and a console version setup, although I can't really think of any reason why the PC would be any different than the console in terms of how things are set up. But to me, the mapping is the same. I wouldn't mess with the mapping anyway. This seems a little too overwhelming. And considering the PlayStation 4 offered console remapping in a previous update, and I have yet to touch it, I don't see why this would be any different for me. But if you like that, there are 2 settings there. In addition, the D-pad. This is something that's really, really cool. You have your traditional D-pad, just drop down left, right. And then they include this hexagon D-pad, which has 8 sides. And that's a lot nicer. I wish the original the original Xbox One controller featured that, because it really changes the way you use a D-pad. Still got that same clicky, very, very clicky noise and clicky feel to it, but for fighting games particularly, that is a huge difference in what the original 4 direction D-pad is versus the 8. Something that I thought they had mentioned before, but it looks like they're not embracing that at this time, was different kind of features for each different controller, like a little piece like that you could put on, so like it was mapped for like the Halo, or it was mapped to look like Gears of War. And all I'm talking about is a vanity item on the front, guys. I'm not talking about anything different, like different mappings. I'm talking about just like a little collector's edition D-pad that you snap on your Elite controller. Maybe it's thrown in with the game. If you have it, great. If not, whatever. But that way, it would kind of like, for the true collectors, you could kind of have your own. You could start building a set. And I think that was a real big missed opportunity on Halo 5 for that. Anyways, anything else on the front? That's it. On the back, 2 big things on the back. A couple big things on the back. One of the big reasons, if you guys recall, why I chose getting the Forza Limited Edition was for the really sweet Forza controller, which I actually have right here. And you'll notice on my Forza controller, and I did a big video about this when I did my Halo unboxing, is you'll notice that there's rubberized grips here. Now, it probably doesn't look too much different on the camera. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. Maybe you can tell there's a little bit of texture there. But it's got some rubberized grips on the controller. They actually do not come around on the sides. They stop just on the back only. So you have just this piece here is rubberized, and this piece here is rubberized. This was to emulate the GT steering wheel. However, the Elite controller, actually, where the seam is on the controller, right here, you can see the seam. It actually is rubberized all the way about halfway down across on both sides. And it feels nice. It feels really, really nice. And that's something I really like. I don't know why these, I mean, obviously I have the Forza one here with the grip. The other ones are just that plastic on the back. It doesn't sound like a big deal. It doesn't mean you're going to grip the controller any differently. It doesn't mean your hands are going to get any more or less sweaty. It's just a good feel. It's a good fit. So the Elite controller has the rubberized grips that go all the way around on the sides. That's a big deal. The second big deal that they have is the hair trigger. Now, for those not familiar with the hair trigger is a super sensitive trigger. And they do that via way of these little dip switches. So on the back of the Elite controller, right here and right here, there's two little switches that you just flip up or down. And what that will do is it actually puts like almost like a piston or something in here. So instead of your controller, when you want to pull it down, your normal pull on your controller is like this, right? And that's like full throttle, no throttle, full throttle. Nothing clicking like you're shooting a gun. The hair trigger does something like this is full. So when you just tap a little bit, it actually puts like a spring there. You can't push it down anymore. And actually, if you're holding the trigger down when you roll that dip switch up, it'll actually lift your finger back up because it puts like a piston or something inside of there. Anyway, so when you're playing a game, instead of like, hey, I want to shoot, it's like, hey, I want to shoot. And the difference is, obviously, your reaction time is going to be significantly faster. I know significant is a very relative term. We're probably talking in the order of hundredths of seconds, rather. You're not going to, like, I don't know. Obviously, for a racing game, you want a long pull so you can, like, get into the throttle, get out of the throttle. And I've done tons of videos on that. You guys are very familiar with my obsession with long pull controllers. These obviously would not be for racing. This would be for, like, a Halo or any kind of shooting game where you want to shoot very quickly. That's why you ever hear that. You've probably heard this phrase, or you've seen it on Destiny, shoots like a hair trigger. That's exactly what they're talking about. It's just a very quick pull. So, and those are independently toggled on both the left and right back sticks, so, or the back triggers. So if you wanted to just have the left one, you wanted to aim quickly but still shoot slow, or shoot quickly and aim slow, whatever you wanted, they have there. And it's only one setting. It's either on or off. There's no like variable adjustment. It's either you have it or you don't. And it works very well. From what I could tell, at least feeling. I'm sure your reaction time, again, would improve, but that's a relative term on how much that actually is. There are times I know when I'm playing Halo and I got a beat on somebody and I'm shooting and they're shooting and they hit me first. I'm like, oh, I know I shot first. And I'm like, I wonder if they have an Elite controller. No, probably not. Just being an old, slow man. The other big feature on the back, obviously, is the paddle bumper. So on the back of the controller, there's 4 slots on the back. And there's these metal bars that come out, and you are meant to hold them. You can toggle them any way you want, but they're for your middle finger and your ring finger. There's no way your pinky could get up there. I tried to do it. No matter how you hold the controller, you're going to have... It's basically you're going to be holding the controller like this. And you have these metal bumpers under your hands. The metal bumpers will replace the 4 face buttons. So what you'll have is... The idea is that you're always having your thumbs on the stick. So instead of like having your thumb and like, oh, I want to jump and you have to move your hand off the controller, you're actually keeping your thumb on the stick at all times. Your index fingers still are on trigger duty, but now your 2 middle fingers and your 2 ring fingers are on the back for the 4 face buttons. Now, again, I didn't get to try this in game. What I played was nothing. It was just sitting on a table. I will tell you guys though that for me, I've been playing games since I was 6. I'm a 33-year-old man. Obviously, they didn't come out with more trigger buttons until Super Nintendo had a few, and then obviously PlayStation added more, and then now we're at now. Realistically, I've been playing with trigger buttons and face buttons for probably 20 years, 18 years. that goes beyond muscle memory. That's like the muscle Bible, like the muscle 10 commandments, okay? I don't think I would ever feel comfortable not pressing jump by rolling my thumb off the right thumbstick to press the B button or whatever button, as opposed to reaching around my index finger and doing this. Or I'm sorry, my ring finger or my middle finger and doing this. Or if depending on how the mapping is, one of these two. I don't ever see that happening. I feel like I'd have two left hands. So for me, I know that's one of the big draws of the controller. I am not interested in that at all. Now people say, man, you know what, dude? Like, you might get used to it. And hey, I know there's a couple people, I've seen reviews online for people who've gotten advanced review copies, and they say it's not as bad once you get used to it. Again, you're fighting 20 years of stubborn old ass man who's probably not going to be using that. So that's just something to be aware of. The sticks, there's two that kind of have an angle, and there's two short fat ones. So you can flip them in any configuration. So you could have the two up at an angle like this and two flat ones like this, or two at an angle like this and the two small ones above it. It's kind of up to you. You could do a little bit of configuration there, and they're totally, you can take them on or off, and they do not replace the face buttons. So the face buttons are still mapped. So if you just want to just do maybe two on the back, or just one of those four bumpers on the back to replace one of the buttons, you could do that. There are certain games where, like Halo right now, X isn't mapped in your multiplayer if you're using the standard configuration, so you can just pop that one off if you wouldn't need it. And if all you really use was boost, you might just want to have one on the back for boost, and that way you wouldn't have to move your thumb off the trigger or the thumbstick. It's just something to think about. The one thing that was lacking on that controller was the inclusion of this guy right here, the Play and Charge Kit. More specifically, the Charge Kit. This controller does not have that included. I think it is a huge omission. If you're going to charge me 150 American dollars for a controller, you better not make me put in AA batteries like a goddamn caveman, okay? Come on, that is a huge omission on their part. I would so completely expect when this thing drops in price, and it will, you will start to see that included. That'll probably be the first bundle. It'll probably come bundled with it, and that'll be the first price drop. But all in all, holding it and playing it, it did feel good. People did say it was a little heavier. There were no batteries in it, so I couldn't tell you. It did feel a little heftier, but other than that, the form factor was identical. The feel was identical, minus the rubber grips on the back. I don't know if it's a good investment or not. I don't own one personally, as I'm a big collector of controllers for the Xbox One. I'm sure I'll get it at some point, but probably not until it goes on sale. I would expect that the initial hype for this is going to wear off pretty quickly. I could be wrong. You know, with the rise of the esports scene, it's very possible that all the pros use these sticks and everybody needs to have one, and that may be a fact, and we just all have to see. I think they missed a big opportunity on the branding with unique D-pads or unique triggers or something that was unique to each game. That way the collectors and me and the collector and everyone else could say, hey, you know what? This is really cool to kind of add to my collection. And one last thing I noticed, they debuted a Forza limited Xbox Elite controller, not for sale. They say it's a one-of-a-kind production run, which is doing exactly what I said I was alluding to. It has different bumpers. The bumpers in the back look like a gas and brake pedal. The Elite controller isn't replaceable, but it has different bumpers, and the thumbstick looks like a steering wheel. Again, there you go, missed opportunity. Or maybe they're thinking about it. I don't know. I hope you guys watch this video, Microsoft, and say, you know what, that Jim Fanis, he's a freaking smart man. It all comes with a little carrying case. All in all, it's a pretty nice little setup. Again, if you got the money and you think this is something that's good for you, I say go for it. But for the rest of us, you might want to wait if your muscle memory is not going to do what you want it to do, and you know you're just going to be you're not going to be interested in it. You maybe just want to wait until it goes on sale or something. Anyways, that's all the time I got for today. Thank you all for watching. Please do me a favor, comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about the Xbox One Elite controller. Did you get it? Are you playing it? Give me some feedback. I want to hear about it. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.